Hey everybody, how are you doing? I thought I'll do another one of these vlog things. I just got off the line. I did Heise Show, which is a German live Heise's live internet politics kind of show. We just discussed these COVID apps and the plans they have for like digital health certificates and also conspiracy theories for about an hour. And I just got off and I thought, got this whole setup going. I might as well record one of these and let you know what I'm up to recently. So yeah, I think I was the conspiracy nut on that show. Kind of like the local Eddie Bravo. I don't know. No, I don't think I've been often called a conspiracy theorist, although I don't think I am one. But I often guess I often have contrarian views, and you get labeled as a conspiracy theorist quite a lot when you voice those objections. But it was a great show. It was a good discussion. I've been doing a lot of writing about these tracing apps. Wrote some columns, basically some commentary about how I think they won't work and why I think they won't work. And then what makes me what I find even more scary is like these health certificates, which is like basically your digital pandemic passport. So if you had it and you get like an antibody test, and you get like a stamp, and then you can go places that other people can't, which I'm firmly of the opinion is against the German constitution, the Grundgesetz. And I think I'm not the only one who thinks that. And I was basically embroiled in a bit of a discussion this week because I wrote that column on Heise, and then the people who are actually working on these Bitcoin health certificate things, and they're like, this is all going to be totally privacy oriented and great. And I was like, yeah, awesome, but maybe it's just a bad idea from the start. Maybe you just shouldn't do that kind of stuff. So that's what I've been doing. I'm writing about that a lot. Otherwise, nothing much has changed. They are loosening the restrictions now. So I had a haircut. That is positive. Everybody wearing masks, of course. Hairdresser has to wear a mask. You wear a mask. What can you do? At least I got a haircut. That was helpful. Otherwise, I'm as with the beginning of this, I'm not really impacted by any stay-at-home order because I'm a nerd and I work from home anyway. So I'm staying at home anyway. I'm getting in shape. Been running a lot. Because basically, the whole the social life is gone, right? That when you would go out in the evening and you would go to a restaurant or a pub with some friends, can't do that. So, and I do from time to time. I actually want to get out of the house, so I'll just go running, and I've been running a lot. My Strava has this tracks like your exercise and then your recovery, and it tells me my over the last 6 months my fitness increased over 1,000%. I lost about, I don't know, 3 kilos. I think I can run 10 kilometers now. I haven't been able to run 10 kilometers in, I don't know, almost 15 years. So that's pretty cool. That's a good thing that's been happening. Obviously keeping busy. I'm trying to schedule another stream of U-Boat because I've been really enjoying that game. I don't know if I can do it tomorrow. I'll try. I've got some stuff. I've got a story to write today, and then my newsletter I did yesterday. I I worked all day, and then I did a Private Citizen podcast in the evening, and that took me like 10 minutes to midnight to get out, which meant I had to neglect my daily tech newsletter, fab.industries. You can sign up /newsletter. So I'm going to have to do that today, make up for that, because also I have to catch up on all the Patch Tuesday stuff. Because obviously I didn't do that on Tuesday because I do my newsletter, it's evening here before Patch Tuesday stuff comes out. So I usually do that on Wednesday, but didn't have a newsletter on the Wednesday now, so I'll have to catch up with that. My Windows PC rebooted overnight. Well, that's all crooked. Can't have that. So I know there's some. Unsurprisingly, Microsoft fixed some stuff. Yeah, otherwise, what's been going on with the Corona situation? I'm getting a lot of flack for. I think it's clear that it wasn't as bad as everybody thought. Now, of course, everybody's saying, well, it didn't turn out that bad because the measures worked, which is, could be, doesn't have to be. That's the old, the correlation doesn't equal. What's the other word? I can't remember that. I forgot that during Heise Show as well. Correlation doesn't equal. God, now I have to Google this. That's annoying. This is what happens when I speak too much German. I lose my English. Correlation does not imply causation. That's it. That I don't know. But it's kind of like my main problem is just the attitude that these politicians have. They're like, oh well, now we're loosening the restrictions in Germany. It's Lockerung and everybody's Lockerung. It's like this is the wrong approach. I ranted a bit about that in the podcast last night. It's this. The approach should be by default. You have rights. You have civil rights, civil liberties, and then something bad happens, like an emergency situation, the state can curtail that in a very, for a short amount of time. But now it's like, hey, we took all your rights away, and now be happy that you have some loosening of the restrictions. And if you're not nice, we're gonna tighten them again. That's how they talk. Like that's how Merkel talk. Just like a fucking headmistress of like a university or like a school. It's like, if you're not behaving, we can tighten those again. And it's not like, that's not how it works. Right? You're not my teacher. You work for me. I didn't elect her. Never voted for her once. But, we're paying you. We voted for you. You work for us. It's not the other way around. That's not how it works. The state works for us. The state is not our parents. Right? If I want to go out and want to kill myself by going on a motorbike or by getting a virus, then that's it. You have to, of course, weigh that, because you're endangering other people. You have to weigh that, and but I'm thinking we've done for the last 2-3 months. We've done the absolute max we could do. Whatever, in Germany, I don't know how it is where you are, but in Germany, we've done everything. We shut it down as soon as we could. We pushed restrictions that would have been unthinkable previously. So we done all that. So why aren't you happy? Now it's like, we have to, longer. Have to wear your mask longer. It's like, Jesus Christ. At some point, it's, this is not going to go away. Probably going to get this video kicked out of YouTube, but I'll have to put it up somewhere else. Daily Motion or something. I don't know. This algorithms now that apparently if you don't agree with the WHO, they delete your YouTube video. You're like, what the fuck's wrong with all of you? It's not your job. It's not Google's job to tell me health information. right? We have a National Health Service for that. It's their job. It's also not the WHO's job, to be honest. We have a government office for this. They have a website. I can go there. Everybody's like, oh, we gotta keep us. I'm worried. I'm worried about, like, not about these restrictions. It's gonna go away. I'm actually doing good. That's not the problem. People were like writing me emails. Oh, you look so tired, and you look like depressed. I'm not depressed, man. I'm a bit tired, but that's because I work a hell of a lot, and I worked till like last night. I worked till like 3:00 or something. But I'm good. Like, in fact, those restrictions, they're not the problem. The problems are what's happening to our society right now. You know, what people are doing. That's like the decisions that are being made right now, where it's like we're maximizing everybody's safety about everything. That's not something we've done before. Like, yes, this is an unprecedented situation. We clearly never had a virus like this spreading and it being this bad. But we're clearly overreacting. It's kind of the more and more. So the thing that happened in my lifetime that I can remember where something like this happened was September 11th. Completely overreacted there. I mean, we're still have all these idiotic restrictions at airports where, like, 100 milliliters of liquid only because it could be explosives. And anybody who knows anything about security is like, this is not how you smuggle explosives on a plane. And even if it was, it's not helping. There are other ways. People can still get explosives on the plane. But people have just, at first they were like, yeah, this is dumb, but it's going to be away in a year. Yeah, no, it hasn't. It's a problem. And I'm just worried long term. I mean, I completely understand why this is happening. People are scared, and they were scared. But I feel like a lot of that is actually, I think there's three aspects to this. There's just generally people being scared. Viruses are scary. I remember when I read the first about Marburg and Ebola virus, when I read about that, it's scary. It's like this tiny particle, and it'll completely fuck you up. And it's very hard to contain the spread and stuff like that. That is inherently a scary thing. That's something humans are not set up to deal with. Like, we can judge like the danger, or we think we can, when we like get in a car, or when there's a lion and we're on the step and there's a lion or a wolf, like that. That's scary, but that is like I think it's a fear we can comprehend, because our, whatever it is, like the primal brain or whatever, is tuned to that. But the primal brain is not tuned to a microscopic particle that you can't see, that'll kill you, or that'll be bad for you. That if you confront people with something like that, you have a very there's a very illogical fear, and I think that's just human. That in itself is not bad. I completely understand that. Now, the second factor is, of course, the media, who completely, and I say the media, but colleagues of mine who completely like exponentially grew people's fear. I mean, I haven't been watching television since I've been in university, right? I've just had too much to do. And I've started watching the news, and I started even long before I became a journalist. I was interested in it. I was always interested in becoming a journalist. There was never a path, but I was thinking about stuff, right? I'm reading stuff. And I'm watching the news, like back in 2004, 2005. And I'm like, this is wrong. These people, they haven't thought about this. And you grow up as somebody who thinks, yeah, what's on the news is the truth. And then you kind of figure out, well, they're just people like you, and they're just giving their best, and sometimes their best is just not very good. So but I feel like it's been getting worse. I mean, if I was watching TV today, like I did actually don't have, our TV is like hooked up to cable, but like all the channels aren't sorted, so you can't find anything. Like all the important German channels are at 2057 or something. So I was actually watching some TV just on the internet, but I can't. I just stopped. I just couldn't. It's like, oh, so many people died today here, and look over there. So many people died there, and look here, and look there, and look there. And when I was just on the Heise show, we talked about this, and former colleague of mine said, yeah, but that's what people want, right? They want that data, and she's completely right. They want that reporting, and she's completely right. People, it's like a car crash, right? It's like people can't tear themselves away from that. But the question is, should we give it to them? Should we, as journalists, should we give them this granular information which they don't need, and they think they need, but it doesn't affect their lives, right? It doesn't. I live in Hamburg, right? If 100 people today die of the coronavirus oh shit, I shouldn't have said that. No, the YouTube algorithm is coming. If people die of that, if it's 100 or 50, doesn't impact my life at all. I understand that it's something I might want to know about, but I want to know generally every few days, like, how is it going? Is everybody dying? I don't need these granular numbers, and people don't need that. They're like, these journalists think, yes, people want that because they say that, but they don't need that. It sounds weird. It sounds like you kind of need to save them for themselves, but they can't decide what is important right now. It's your job as a journalist. It's your job. It's my job to decide what is important. And that sounds preposterous, but that's kind of what your job is. And it's made okay because it's not only me doing that job, right? There's a lot of people doing that with a lot of different backgrounds and a lot of different experiences and a lot of different ideas. And generally that would work out. The problem is right now, everybody is just pushing the panic, and there's nobody like me. Well, there are people like me, but they're not like, there's no major German newspaper, online news source, television channel where they decided, okay, everybody's doing this, let's not do this. Let's report on this differently, right? Nobody did that because of market pressures. They get viewers, they get money, although they're figuring out that it's kind of not working that way anymore. But so the system isn't working. So people had a irrational fear of something that is generally scary and that the human brain cannot comprehend. That got multiplied by just media reporting like hell. And then, of course, I mean, the third reason is just like why you would be, I mean, that if somebody gets it that and is very sick or dies, it's a horrible experience and you will be scared of it. And that's normal as well, I think. So I guess the whole reaction was just basically natural. It's what happened. You have a situation that unfolds like this, and something that is actually scary, and then what happens in the press is kind of also natural because that's work. That's how it works. That's how societies work. And then what the politicians do is also kind of understandable because they're the ones who have the responsibility. They don't want to look like afterwards like they did something, they neglected their responsibilities. So they go for the maximum amount of things you can do to crack down and lock everything down. And then they're very hesitant to lift it because that gives them power, and they like that. So it's all understandable, but it's something we need to break out of this. And I don't have an answer, of course. That's not why I'm doing vlogs, right? But I feel like what I can say is, as journalists, we should have collectively understood this thing better and dampened the whole panic down a bit, which I don't think would have. I mean, we still would have done the lockdowns and everything. I can't see a situation where that isn't happening. But we still need what we need is a plurality of opinion, right? We need the people that say, okay, let's stop with this shit now. Let me go out again. That doesn't mean we need to follow what they say, but we need to be respectful of that opinion. That is a valid opinion, right? It's a valid opinion to say, yes, this virus is bad, but our civil rights and our constitution is important. And this plurality just doesn't exist anymore in society. There's very few plurality of opinion in big newspapers, which, I guess is just the state of how media used to work, right? Before the 50s, it was totally normal that you had like partisan newspapers. Like every in the 1900s, every political party, every political direction had their own newspaper. Like in Germany, Bismarck had his own newspaper. Like the conservatives had their own newspaper, and then the communists had their own newspaper. And we just went from that in the 50s, 60s, where they established this thing where journalism has to be objective, which is a good goal to have, but it's an unattainable goal, right? Nobody can be objective. You're always it's a good goal to have, but you cannot be, as a human being, it doesn't work that way. But now we have like these journalists who think they are objective and who can't see that you genuinely have these people who think, well, it's not like they think they're right. I think I'm right as well, right? But I am intellectual enough. I have a position. I'm completely convinced that my position is right, but I can entertain the idea that I might be wrong, or that, you have somebody who has the opposite opinion of me, and that the truth is somewhere in the middle. And that's why I would never in my life suggest or tell this person or do anything to basically detract them from voicing their opinion. I will, they say something, I will go, you're wrong, and I will tell them why, but not out of a desire to shut their argument down. Because even though I think they're wrong, I think there must be wrong opinions. Even though also I'm thinking maybe they are right. Who knows? We don't know. A lot of times we don't know. Life isn't black or white. But I have colleagues that I've worked with in the past that have an opinion that are dead convinced that that's the right opinion. And that is a bad. I mean, as a human being, that sure, as a normal person in society, there are probably a lot of people that are like that. But if you're a journalist, that is a very unhealthy attitude. That is like, basically you shouldn't be a journalist. It's like if you're a scientist and you're like that, you're a shit scientist. Science works like this: you have an idea, you design an experiment, and talk to a scientist. Talk to a scientist who's actually doing, talk to a postdoc at a university doing, I don't know, biology, physics, science like that, right? They have a theory, they design an experiment, or their superior designs an experiment for them or whatever, or they come to the institute and basically inherit an experiment from somebody. It doesn't matter. And then it doesn't work. And you think you made a mistake, and it doesn't work, and it doesn't work, and it doesn't work. And at some point, comes a point where you have to entertain the idea that maybe your original theory wasn't correct. If if every indication you're getting from your experiments is like, my original theory was wrong or slightly off or something, you need to change, right? You need to change your theory and redesign the experiment or whatever to make it fit together. But you can't just like keep doing experiments and try to prove your theory. At some point, you have to be flexible in your theory. Otherwise, you're not a good scientist. And it's kind of the same thing. When you're a journalist, you need to have to. It's not bad to have a strong opinion. God knows I have strong opinions on things. And you don't even have to. I feel like you don't even yourself have to say, well, maybe this person is right. You can stay on your point. I don't care. The problem is you cannot shut the other person down. That is the dangerous thing. To think, I'm right, he's wrong, you should shut the fuck up. You shouldn't say that. That is wrong. That is very dangerous thinking. I feel like that's what's happening a lot. And, you know, also I mean, we talked a lot on the Heise show about conspiracy theories. And I really feel like their conspiracy theories are not different than any other theory. I feel like there are genuine conspiracies in the world. And then they get publicized, and then you think, oh shit, wow. And the guy who found all of this out, 2 years ago, you've thought he was a nutcase. And you read about these things again and again and again about journalists who do research, and they figure like this thing out, and they're like, holy shit. And then they research that, and then if you follow that story, there's always like an editor who's like, you're nuts. You can't write about this. This is not a story. Kill that. That is idiotic. You can't do that. And then they persevere, and then they can prove it, and suddenly they're the hero, and then they get a Pulitzer Prize. Right? It's like with every big Watergate. I mean, that was a conspiracy. It's a clear conspiracy. And they proved it, and then suddenly it's not a conspiracy theory anymore. It was an actual conspiracy. Of course, there's idiotic conspiracy theories, a lot of them, but there's also idiotic other theories that are not labeled conspiracy theories, right? There's just things out there that are obviously not right. Well, I think, that's the thing. Like you're presuming you know what's right. You should never do that as a journalist, I feel. And I really don't like these people right now who are going, oh, look at all the conspiracy theories. They write for papers who 2 months ago or 2.5 months ago were writing this is how the coronavirus thing works, and didn't know the difference between DNA and RNA. Right? That everybody can make a mistake. But if your paper published that a few months ago, you can't go around saying, well, this is obviously idiotic. Because, I mean, you published idiotic shit in the past as well. It's like this high down, like this, oh, we're right. It's like Merkel again. It's like the school teacher, we will tell you plebs what's right. I hate that attitude. And that is way too far spread in the media. These are the people who do fact checks, and then they do fact checks on things that aren't facts, right? There's, how many, in this show, it shortly came up about, climate change, and I didn't want to go into this topic because that would have blown everything out, but there's like the New York Times or whatever does a fact check on climate change, and they do a fact check on a computer simulation of how the planet's gonna go bad in 20 years or whatever. That's not a fact check. It's not a fact. Computer simulation is not a fact. It's based on fact. It's a model. It's your best guess of what you think is gonna happen, and then you feed facts into it. But it is not a fact. It's a prognosis. That's not a fact. You can't fact check that. right? Or when Trump says, I think blah, 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 you can't go fact check. He said, I think. He thinks. That's not a fact. He didn't state a fact. Like, semantically, he didn't state a fact. You can't, it's dumb. If you do that, it's dumb. What you're doing is you're trying to play gotcha, which, yes, you can do. Trump says a lot of idiotic things, but something like this is, it's like when I said he lied, and he didn't, like, you can't say he lied. That's just like my thing. I mean, there are instances where you can prove that he lied, and then you can do that. But it's like, oh, he lied 6,000 times. No, I'm sure he didn't, because if you look into your things, lying, if you say somebody lied, that implies. So if somebody says something that is not true, and you say he lied or she lied, you imply that the person knew it was not true, right? And you can be very sure that that's the case. With many of these things, I am sure, that Trump knew, and so he was lying. I'm sure. But proving that is a whole different thing. And if I'm here and we're doing like a video, or we're in a pub and I say that, that's okay. You can say he lied. I mean, as a journalist, you need to know what the words you're using mean, and you need to be careful about using them. And that's like they're very lax with the words, and then they're trying to be like the teacher who teaches you what's right and what's wrong. That's not good. And I'm convinced that I'm not the only one that notices this kind of stuff. People notice that, and that's why you lose trust. And then at the far end of this, you have people who get pushed into weird ass conspiracy theories that are absolutely idiotic. But if you talk to these people, like people like they're always vilified, but if you actually talk to them, and I try to do this, because again, I'm a journalist, I think you need to expose yourself to other viewpoints, no matter how weird they are. You will always find reasons. These are people often that have problems in their lives, that feel, and I'm not saying mental problems, I'm just saying like they feel left behind by politicians and by the rest of society. And I'm not saying I'm supporting them in what they're doing. I'm saying I can kind of understand how you get in that situation, right? And sometimes I know how they feel. Like, it's like there's people who, like, I don't know, just make something up. People live in the country who are farmers, and then, I don't know, the government says, hey, we need more clean energy, and they put all these windmills in front of their house, right? And they're like, fuck, I don't want this. And they say, hey, I want nuclear power or whatever. And the government just doesn't do what they want. And they feel like, for some reason, they feel left behind. And you can get in this groove where you feel like the rest of society is like insane. It's like they don't see things the way you do. And if you go too deep into that, you get like, you can become, I would say, but you'd become, you'd start believing some weird shit. But on the other hand, there's people who believe weird shit, who are just normal people. I mean, there's also some people who are just like, sometimes I feel left behind when I see like policies that are being pushed, and that I feel have nothing to do with like how real people live. Right? I had this case this week where I had a Twitter discussion. Basically, there was a story about, hey, we maybe in 20 years we'll get rid of all cars in cities. And then there were people saying, that's a great idea. And I know where these people live. They live in the countryside, right? They think they work in a city, although that city is, not that big. But it's like, yeah, great. You live in your house you inherited, like out in the countryside, and you're like, hey, people in cities don't need cars, right? Because I always drive my car to the city and then work there, whatever. I could take a train. And you don't understand what the people who actually live in cities think. Maybe some of them actually need cars. Like I'm thinking like less. A lot of them probably don't. But then it's like, yeah, I would like to take. If public transport works, I would like to take it. Yeah, but you don't work in the city. Like leaving aside the Corona situation, right? Let's talk middle of last year. I didn't have a car for a very long time, and I worked few years, and I worked in a place where lived in a place where actually you needed a car. And I took public transport everywhere, so I know how it is. Also, I live in a big city. I take public transport a lot, even though I have a car. Sometimes it's better to use public transport, sure, but also it's on the brink of collapse the whole time when you live in a big city. It's like in Hamburg, not all day, but like during rush hour in Hamburg, if there's 10% more people, the whole thing's just gonna collapse. And I've lived in London. If you've seen, you think German public transport is full, you should try in rush hour to get from Wimbledon to Heathrow on the tube. I've done this regularly. That was a few years ago. I don't think it's got better. There are issues there. And then there are the people who had never commute with public transport. They're like, public transport is great, says the guy with a car and a house. In a countryside. Yeah, great. It's just like, there's like this, people build these, I feel like people build these realities for themselves. And I guess the modern way of would be calling that filter bubbles, but I don't think it is filter bubbles. It's just like, because it extends to real life. If you don't live in a big city, it's fine and dandy to tell everybody, hey, it's great if they don't have cars in the big city. And then you're like, for example, I lived here in Hamburg, didn't have a car, just had a motorbike. And I want to go shopping. Then the next supermarket is about 1.5 kilometers away. And I can use a bus to get there. But the bus is like 3 stops. And it takes me about, I guess, you get to the bus stop. It takes about 10 minutes for the bus to arrive. Then you get there. Then you still have to walk because the bus stop's not next to it, right? So I can just walk. It's like a 20-minute leisurely walk or something to get there. And I did that. Like sometimes I took the motorbike, but I can't really, when you have to buy a lot of shit in the supermarket because you're buying for a week, food for a week or a week and a half, you can't, like, that doesn't fit on the motorbike. So I'm like carrying that shit, right? I'm walking 2 kilometers carrying that shit. It takes me like 1.5 hours to go shopping. And yes, you can do that, but I only can do that because I'm young. It's much easier if you have a car. It's quicker, right? And it's well and good to say, yeah, public transport is great, but like they're not gonna build another bus line, make that quicker. They're not gonna build a supermarket. There are lots of supermarkets here. It's just the closest one is that far away. And it's like all these little things that if you're on the outside and you think, hey, that's a good idea. Yeah. Wind power is a great idea. It's also, talk to somebody who lives 600 meters from one of those fucking huge turbines. It's fucking annoying. It's whoop, 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 day and night. And in the winter, you can't walk along the way because ice might fall off that thing. Like, huge ice spikes might kill you. That's something you don't think about if you haven't lived next to one of those things. And then you walk along there, and this is the path. It says, like, can't go here in the winter because ice might fall from the blades. You're like, woo. It's like life's complicated. Oh, no. Didn't hit the tie. I'm good. Is that? Wow. That is that's special. Okay, I'm gonna take the tie off. Oh, it did hit the tie. It's just coffee. That looks special. Can't drink. Okay, I'm gonna have to clean that. Proves my point. Life is fucking complicated. Anyway, what am I doing here? I don't know. I'm just ranting. Well, that looks horrible. I'm just ranting. I don't know what I'm doing. I hope that makes any sense. Why are you watching this? Is this doing something for you? I hope it is. Anyway, so generally I'm good. I'm just thinking about things and things that people say. And I'm not like, when I'm getting mad about that, I'm not saying they shouldn't say that. People think that, but like, no, I'm okay if that's your opinion. You know, that's a valid opinion to have, but you have to listen to my opinion, which is I live in a city, and sometimes public transport isn't the answer. We haven't even talked about like the pandemic, right? These are the same guys who like, oh, everybody should keep a meter, 2 meters, 3 meters apart, wear masks, don't touch anything. Have you ever been in public transport? Public transport is the biggest health hazard north of unprotected sex. Public transport is like the almost 2 years. I used I used the bus to get to the subway. I used the subway to get to the train. Then I used the train to get to the tram, and used the tram to get to and with the tram I got to work, right? So I used bus, subway, train, tram. You know how often I was sick during winter? I basically had the sniffles the whole time. It's like you can't disinfect yourself and wash your hand as much to prevent. It's just like there's people sneezing and coughing everywhere. I mean, and now everybody's like, oh, we gotta be careful, But public transport is great. Public transport is basically dead right now. You can't use it. It's not usable. Like, even if people wanted to use it, like with all the distance regulation, it's like if people were actually using it right now, if people weren't using their cars to get to work, or if they weren't at home or whatever, working from home, it wouldn't be, you couldn't, there's too many people and not enough space to keep the distance. It's insane. But that's only temporary, and generally public transport. Yeah, right, sure. Ever thought about how many people catch the flu in public transport every year and die because of that? Okay, could have a study. Let's do a study about that. So I'm okay with public transport. I use a lot of public transport. It's not the answer to everything. And there are people who, that's the thing I was going for. I can understand these people when they're like, their life is like this, and they have like this situation, and they have these problems, and they have to deal with that. And then they watch TV or are on, I don't know, on Facebook. And then everybody else is just like saying something that completely doesn't conform with their life experience, right? Then all these people who live in cities are like, yeah, electric cars are great. Everybody should have electric cars, right? And there's the guy who's drive to work is longer than the range of the electric car, whatever. And they're like, what? I can understand how these people, like, how you get a big influx of conspiracy theory, especially in a situation right now where everybody's going insane because everybody's locked into their house, everybody's to work from home. They're not prepared for that. The kids are just jumping all over them. You can't have fun because everything that you used to distract yourself is cancelled. There's no sports on TV. You can't have any concerts. Everything is like, you wonder people are going insane. Like, really? You scared them half to death, and then you took everything away they like to do, and now you're wondering that they don't like you and your policies, and that they're going a bit cuckoo? Seriously? I mean, that was just... You couldn't design that better as a social experiment if you wanted to. you just want to drive people mad, I mean, that is pretty much as good as it goes. Anyway, hope you're doing good. I need to do some work, I think. I've just been I'm doing this to procrastinate, I think. I don't know. I just spill coffee on myself. Yeah, hope you're having a good time. You're doing well. And Jackie, go to bed. This is becoming a running gag. Have a nice time. I hope somebody watches these and enjoys these, and I'll try to be back with some game streaming. In the meantime, fab.industries, I write a lot of stuff on my blog. I do newsletter and privatecitizen.press. If you are into privacy and what all this shit does to us, and maybe some answers at some point when we have some answers. Until then, have a good time. Stay strong. Stay healthy. And try to stay happy. Do something. I don't know. Try to do something fun. Video games or something. See you around, people.